The fork froze halfway to my mouth. My mother's voice cut through the birthday song, still echoing in my head. Vanessa, we need to tell you something. You're adopted. I looked at the cake. 23 candles still flickering. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. My sister Rochelle leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, that smug smile spreading across her face like poison. Finally, Rochelle said. Now she knows she's not really one of us. The room tilted. My mother's hands were folded on the table, perfectly calm, like she'd just announced what was for dinner. My father cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses the way he always did when he was uncomfortable. We thought your birthday was the right time, Mom continued. You're an adult now. You deserve to know the truth. Deserved. That word tasted like metal in my mouth. I felt my hand move to my purse beside my chair. My fingers found the envelope. The one I'd been carrying for 2 weeks. The one that had been burning a hole through my bag since the private investigator handed it to me. Leave, my father said quietly. We think it's best if you leave and don't come back. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. Rochelle laughed. Actually laughed. This is the best birthday gift ever. Finally getting rid of the spare. Something inside me snapped. Not into pieces. Into place. I pulled the envelope out slowly. Set it on the table between the cake and my mother's perfectly manicured hands. My father's face went white. Actually drained of color like someone pulled a plug. He recognized the logo in the corner. Preston and Associates. Private Investigations. What is that? Mom's voice cracked for the first time. I opened it. Pulled out the first document. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady. Rock steady. DNA results, I said. My voice sounded different. Stronger. Want me to read them out loud? Rochelle's smile faltered. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Vanessa, where did you get that? My father stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. I looked at Rochelle. Really looked at her. Her perfect hair. Her designer clothes that Mom bought her last week. The car keys to the BMW sitting on the counter behind her. Everything I never got. Everything they gave her instead. The results are very interesting, I said. Especially the ones about Rochelle. My sister's face changed. The smugness drained away. What are you talking about? I slid the paper across the table. Watched my mother's eyes scan the words. Watched her hand fly to her mouth. That's impossible, Mom whispered. Read it, I said. Out loud. So Rochelle can hear. The silence in that room could have shattered glass. My father grabbed the paper. His hands were shaking now. His eyes moved across the lines once, twice, 3 times. Dad? Rochelle's voice was smaller now. Uncertain. He looked at her. Then at Mom. Then at me. And I saw it. The moment everything they'd built came crashing down. Because the DNA results were clear. Crystal clear. Rochelle wasn't their biological daughter. She wasn't related to either of them. Not by blood. Not by birth. Not by anything except the lies they'd been telling for 23 years. I was their biological child. Their real daughter. The one they'd been treating like trash while they pampered the girl they'd actually adopted. But that wasn't even the worst part. There was a second envelope. A thicker one. And when I pulled it out and set it on the table, my father made a sound I'd never heard before. Something between a gasp and a choke. Should I open this one too? I asked. What happens next will blow your mind, but first, are you enjoying this story so far? If you are, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. 3 months earlier, I was sitting in my college apartment trying to figure out why I never felt like I belonged. It wasn't just a feeling. It was a fact. A truth that followed me around like a shadow. Rochelle got a BMW for her 16th birthday. I got a used bike. Rochelle got a full ride to any college she wanted, paid for by Mom and Dad. I got student loans and a part-time job at a coffee shop. Rochelle got family vacations to Hawaii and Europe. I got to house sit while they were gone. But it was more than just money. It was the way Mom looked at her versus the way she looked at me. Like Rochelle was made of gold and I was made of dirt. I remember the Christmas when I was 12. I'd spent weeks making Mom a scrapbook. Pictures, drawings, little notes about my favorite memories with her. I'd saved up my allowance to buy the fancy album and supplies. When she opened it, she smiled. Said it was nice. Set it aside. Then Rochelle gave her a store-bought candle, and Mom cried. Actually cried. Said it was the most thoughtful gift she'd ever received. That's when something broke inside me. Not loudly. Quietly. Like a crack in a window that spreads slowly over time. Last year, I graduated with honors. Mom and Dad came to the ceremony. Took one photo. Left early because Rochelle had a hair appointment. When Rochelle graduated high school with average grades, they threw a party with 100 people and a catered dinner. I kept telling myself it didn't matter. That I was being sensitive. That parents don't have favorites. But deep down, I knew better. Then came the night I overheard them talking. I'd come home early from work, walked in quietly through the back door. They were in the kitchen. Didn't hear me come in. She looks so much like you, Mom was saying. Every time I see her face, I see you. And I remember everything. I know, Dad said. His voice was tired. Heavy. But what are we supposed to do now? Tell her the truth? Destroy everything? No, Mom said firmly. Rochelle can never know. And Vanessa, well, she'll be fine. She's always been independent. Independent. Their word for ignored. I left the house that night and didn't come back for 3 days. Stayed with my friend Felix. Didn't answer their calls. When I finally went home, they didn't even ask where I'd been. That's when I knew I needed answers. Real answers. Not the kind they'd give me if I asked. So I did something I'd never done before. Something that felt like betrayal, but also felt like survival. I hired a private investigator. His name was Gideon Walsh. Older guy, late 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. His office smelled like coffee and old paper. When I told him what I needed, he didn't judge. Just nodded and took notes. This isn't uncommon, he said. Family secrets. People think they can bury the truth, but truth has a way of digging itself up. How long will it take? I asked. Depends on what we find. 2 weeks. That's all it took. 2 weeks for my entire life to make sense and stop making sense at the same time. When Gideon called me to his office, his face was serious. More serious than before. He had folders. Thick ones. And his hands were careful when he slid them across the desk. Vanessa, he said. You need to prepare yourself. What I found, it's not what you expected. I opened the first folder. Saw the DNA results. Saw Rochelle's name. Saw the words that made my heart stop. No biological match to either parent. That's impossible, I whispered. They said I was adopted. They lied, Gideon said quietly. You're their biological daughter. Hospital records confirm it. Blood type matches. Everything matches. But Rochelle. He paused. They adopted her when she was 2 days old. Private adoption. Sealed records that I had to work very hard to unseal. My hands were shaking. The folder slipped. Papers scattered across his desk. Why would they lie? I asked. But even as I said it, I knew. I knew. There's more, Gideon said. And the way he said it made my blood run cold. He opened the second folder. And that's when I learned about my father's other family. The photos were damning. My father, younger, maybe 15 years ago, with his arm around a woman I'd never seen before. Red hair. Freckles. Smiling like she owned the world. And next to them, 2 kids. A boy and a girl. Maybe 10 and 8 in the photo. Who is this? I asked, even though part of me already knew. Her name is Trinity Brennan, Gideon said. She lives in Riverside. About 2 hours from here. Those are her children. Quinn and Sienna. Your father's children. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the desk. He has another family? Had, Gideon corrected. Past tense. Sort of. He still provides for them. Financially. I tracked bank transfers. Regular payments. Large ones. Going back 14 years. 14 years. I did the math. That meant he'd been supporting them since I was 9 years old. Since right after Rochelle came into our lives. Does my mother know? Gideon's face told me the answer before his mouth did. Your mother helped him set it up. The payments. The arrangements. She knew from the beginning. I wanted to throw up. Wanted to scream. wanted to cry. But instead, I just sat there, numb, staring at photos of a family I never knew existed. Why? The word came out broken. Why would they do this? Gideon leaned back in his chair. People do strange things when they're desperate. When they're trying to hide guilt. From what I can piece together, your father had an affair. Got Trinity pregnant. Your mother found out. But instead of leaving him, she stayed. They made a deal. He'd end things with Trinity, but he'd support the children financially. And your mother. He paused. Your mother wanted a child she could control. One that didn't remind her of his betrayal. So they adopted Rochelle. And I was the reminder, I whispered. I was the one who looked like him. The one who was evidence of his loyalty to her. But also evidence that she wasn't enough. That he'd strayed. That's my theory, Gideon said gently. I looked at the bank statements. Thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands. Money that should have gone to my college fund. To my life. Sent to another woman and her kids instead. There's one more thing, Gideon said. He pulled out a legal document. Your father transferred property to Trinity 5 years ago. A house. Fully paid off. It's worth about $400,000. My inheritance. My future. Given to his secret family. But here's the interesting part, Gideon continued. He did it illegally. Transferred marital assets without your mother's signature. Forged documents. If you wanted to, you could sue. Get it back. Get everything back. I stared at the papers. At the proof. At the evidence of years of lies and betrayal and stolen money and stolen love. I want copies of everything, I said. My voice was steady now. Cold. Every document. Every photo. Every bank statement. Gideon nodded. What are you going to do? I thought about it. Thought about all the birthdays they'd ruined. All the Christmases where I'd felt invisible. All the times Rochelle had smirked at me while they showered her with praise. All the times I'd wondered what was wrong with me. Why I wasn't good enough. Why I wasn't loved. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve, I said. Gideon put everything in 2 envelopes. One with Rochelle's DNA results. One with everything else. He handed them to me like he was handing me weapons. Be careful, he said. Truth is powerful. But it's also dangerous. Good, I said. I wanted to be. I left his office with the envelopes in my purse. Drove home in silence. The whole way I planned. Thought about timing. Thought about how to make the maximum impact. And then I realized. My birthday was in 2 weeks. They'd probably do what they always did. Perfunctory cake. Half-hearted singing. Rochelle making snide comments while Mom and Dad barely noticed. Perfect. I'd let them think they were in control. Let them deliver whatever blow they had planned. And then I'd detonate the bomb I'd been building. 2 weeks later, I sat at that table. Watched them light those candles. Heard them sing. And waited. When my mother said I was adopted, I wasn't even surprised. It was exactly the kind of cruelty I'd come to expect. But they had no idea what I was about to do to them. And when I pulled out that first envelope, when I saw my father's face strain of color, I knew one thing for certain. This was going to hurt them as much as they'd hurt me. Maybe more. My father grabbed the DNA results from the table. Read them again like maybe the words would change if he stared hard enough. They didn't. Rochelle sat frozen, her mouth slightly open, eyes darting between Mom and Dad. This is a mistake, Mom said. But her voice was shaking. This has to be a mistake. It's not, I said. Calm. Controlled. I had it done twice. 2 different labs. Same results. Rochelle isn't biologically related to either of you. Rochelle's face crumpled. For the first time in my life, I saw her look small. Vulnerable. What is she talking about? Her voice cracked. Mom? Dad? My father sat down heavily. Put his head in his hands. My mother's perfect posture finally broke. She slumped in her chair, staring at the paper like it was a death sentence. You adopted her, I continued. Private adoption. 23 years ago. 2 days after she was born. You sealed the records. Paid a lot of money to make sure no one would ever know. Vanessa, stop, Dad said quietly. No. The word came out hard. Sharp. You don't get to tell me to stop. Not anymore. You just told me I was adopted. Told me to leave and never come back. On my birthday. So no, I won't stop. Rochelle was crying now. Real tears. Ugly tears. I don't understand. Why would you lie? Because they wanted you more than they wanted me, I said. I looked at Rochelle, and for the first time, I didn't feel rage toward her. I felt pity. You were chosen. I was just born. And apparently, that made me worth less. That's not true, Mom said weakly. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone. Showed her the photos I'd saved. Screenshots of bank statements. Want to explain these? My father's head snapped up. Where did you get those? Private investigator. His name is Gideon Walsh. Very thorough. Very professional. Very good at finding secrets. I swiped to the next photo. Trinity and the kids. My father's face went from white to gray. Oh God, he whispered. Mom saw it. Lunged for my phone. I pulled it back, stood up, put the table between us. Don't, I said. I have copies. Lots of copies. Backed up in 3 different places. You can't make this disappear. Are you keeping up with this? If you're as shocked as I was, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Rochelle was staring at the phone. Who is that woman? Who are those kids? Dad's other family, I said simply. Trinity Brennan, Quinn, and Sienna. Your father's been supporting them for 14 years. Thousands of dollars every month. Money that was supposed to be mine. Money that was supposed to be for college. For my future. He gave it to them instead. No, Rochelle whispered. No, that's not possible. Mom knew, I added. I watched my mother's face. Watched her realize I knew everything. She helped him set it up. They made a deal. He'd end the affair, pay child support, and she'd pretend it never happened. And they'd adopt a baby. A fresh start. Someone who didn't remind her that her husband cheated. Someone she could mold into the perfect daughter. You don't know what you're talking about, Mom hissed. But there was no conviction in it. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I pulled out more papers from the second envelope. Property transfer documents. Dad gave Trinity a house. $400,000. Marital assets. Transferred without Mom's signature. Forged documents. That's fraud. That's illegal. My father stood up. Vanessa, please. Let's talk about this privately.
Why?
So you can lie to me some more? So you can manipulate me into keeping quiet? I shook my head.
No.
We're doing this right here.
Right now.
With Rochelle. Because she deserves to know too. Rochelle was sobbing now. Full body sobs. I can't believe this. I can't believe any of this. For a moment, just a moment, I felt bad for her. She'd been a pawn too. A tool they used to make themselves feel better. To build the perfect family on a foundation of lies. But then I remembered every cruel word. Every smirk. Every time she'd made me feel worthless. And the pity faded. I have more, I said. I pulled out the last document. This is a legal brief. From my lawyer. I'm suing for my rightful inheritance. Every penny Dad stole. Every dollar he transferred illegally. I want it back. All of it. You can't do this, Dad said. His voice was desperate now. We're your parents. No, I said. You're my DNA. But you were never my parents. Parents love their children. Protect them. Lift them up. You did none of that. You threw me away so you could play house with a daughter you actually wanted. Mom was crying now too. Quiet tears running down her face, smearing her mascara. We made mistakes. We know that. But this will destroy us. Good, I said. And I meant it. Maybe you should know what that feels like. Because you destroyed me. Every single day. For 23 years. You made me feel worthless. Unwanted.
Wrong.
And now you want mercy? The silence that followed was deafening. My father's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face went even paler. What? Mom asked. It's my lawyer, he said quietly. He just received legal documents. From Vanessa's attorney. I smiled. Told you. Copies. Everywhere. Rochelle looked at me. Really looked at me. Did you plan all of this? Every second, I said. From the moment I hired Gideon to the moment I sat down at this table tonight. I knew you were going to tell me I was adopted. I knew you were going to kick me out. So, I decided to make sure you'd regret it for the rest of your lives. You're cruel, Mom whispered. I laughed. Actually laughed. I learned from the best. I picked up my purse, grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. The birthday cake still sat there, candles burned down to nothing. I'm leaving now, I said. Like you wanted. But before I go, I want you to know something. I have one more envelope. One you haven't seen yet. And if you try to fight me on this, if you try to hide or destroy evidence, if you do anything except give me what's legally mine, I'm going to open that envelope. And when I do, your lives won't just be destroyed. They'll be obliterated. What's in it? Dad asked, his voice barely a whisper. I smiled. You'll find out if you cross me. But trust me when I say you don't want that to happen. I walked to the door. Hand on the knob. Turn back one last time. Happy birthday to me, I said. And then I left. Behind me, I heard Rochelle's sobs get louder. Heard my mother's voice, shrill and desperate, demanding answers from my father. Heard things crashing, breaking, music to my ears. But this wasn't over. Not even close. I drove to the apartment I'd secretly rented 3 weeks ago. Small place. 1 bedroom. But it was mine. Paid for with money I'd saved working double shifts at the coffee shop while my parents bankrolled Rochelle's designer wardrobe. My phone was exploding.
Text from Mom.
From Dad. From Rochelle. 17 missed calls in 20 minutes. I turned it off. Poured myself a glass of water. Sat on my second-hand couch and let myself breathe. It was done. The bomb had detonated. Now came the fallout. My lawyer's name was Ingrid Pace. Sharp woman. Early 40s. She'd taken my case immediately when she saw the evidence. Called it one of the most clear-cut cases of asset fraud she'd seen in years. They won't fight this, she told me. Not if they're smart. Because if this goes to court, it becomes public record. And from what you've shown me, they have a lot to hide. She was right. But I knew my parents. Pride was their religion. Appearances were their god. They'd fight. They'd scramble. They'd try to spin this somehow. I was counting on it. The next morning, my phone was still off. I made coffee, ate toast, got ready for my shift at the coffee shop like it was any other day. But when I opened my apartment door to leave, someone was standing there.
Rochelle.
Her eyes were red and swollen. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup. Wearing sweatpants and an old hoodie. I'd never seen her look so normal. Can we talk? She asked quietly. How did you find me? I followed you last night. After you left. Stayed in my car outside until this morning. I should have been angry. Should have slammed the door in her face. But something in her expression stopped me.
5 minutes, I said.
She came inside. Looked around at my tiny apartment. Sat on the edge of my couch like she was afraid it might break. They lied to me too, she said finally. My whole life is a lie. I know. No, you don't. Her voice cracked. You grew up knowing something was wrong. You saw how they treated us differently. You knew you didn't fit. But me? I thought I was their perfect daughter. I thought I'd won some genetic lottery. And now I find out I'm just what? A replacement? A do-over. I sat in my armchair, studied her face. For the first time, I saw past the smug smile and expensive clothes. Saw a girl who'd just had her entire identity ripped away. Why did you treat me so badly? I asked. Rochelle flinched. Because they did. I was just following their lead. If Mom and Dad thought you were less important, then you must be. I never questioned it. I was a kid. And then it became a habit. And then... She wiped her eyes. Then it was just who we were. The perfect daughter and the disappointment. I never thought about what that must have felt like for you. It felt like drowning, I said quietly. Every single day. We sat in silence for a minute. Then Rochelle spoke again. They're falling apart. Mom and Dad. Last night after you left, they fought for hours. Mom found out about more payments. More money Dad sent to Trinity. Things even she didn't know about. She threw a vase at him, broke their bedroom window, called him every name I've ever heard, and some I hadn't. Good. Dad's trying to get ahead of this. He called a lawyer. Some expensive guy from downtown. But the guy told him the same thing. He doesn't have a case. The documents are real. The transfers were illegal. You're going to win. I know.
Rochelle looked at me.
What was in the third envelope? The one you threatened them with. I smiled slightly. Nothing. It was empty. Just a psychological weapon. Make them think I had more ammunition than I actually did. She almost laughed. Almost. That's brilliant. I learned to be strategic, I said. Had to. Survival mechanism. I'm sorry. The words came out raw. Honest. I'm so sorry for everything. For being awful to you. For not seeing what was happening. For being their weapon against you. I know sorry doesn't fix it. I know I can't take back 23 years of being terrible. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw genuine remorse. Genuine pain. But also saw all the years of cruelty. All the times she'd laughed when I cried. All the times she'd taken pleasure in my suffering. I don't forgive you, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I hear you. She nodded. That's fair. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know.
Move out, I guess. Get my own place.
Figure out who I am when I'm not their perfect little puppet. She stood up. But I wanted you to know something. Whatever happens with the lawsuit, whatever you decide to do next, I'm not fighting you. I'm not standing with them. They don't deserve it. Rochelle. She turned at the door. Who are your biological parents? I asked. Did you find out? Her face fell. Gideon left me his card. I'm going to call him. Find out. But I'm scared of what I'll learn. Truth is scary, I said. But it's better than lies. She left. And I sat there in my apartment processing. Part of me wanted to hate her forever. Part of me recognized that she'd been a victim too. Just a different kind. My phone buzzed. I turned it back on. A text from Ingrid. Your father's lawyer called. They want to settle. Call me. I smiled. Checkmate. But as I reached for my phone to call Ingrid back, another text came through. From a number I didn't recognize. Vanessa. This is Trinity Brennan. We need to talk. About your father. About everything. There's something you don't know. Something that changes everything. My hand froze. What could possibly be left to discover? And why did I have the terrible feeling that the story was far from over? Trinity's text sat on my screen like a ticking bomb. I stared at it for 5 full minutes before my fingers moved. When and where? I typed back. Her response came immediately. Tomorrow. 10 a.m., Riverside Park. East entrance. I'll be wearing a blue jacket. I showed up 15 minutes early. Watched her arrive from my car. She looked different than in the photos. Older. Tired. Lines around her eyes that hadn't been there 15 years ago. But still pretty. Still the kind of woman who'd turn heads.
She saw me.
Walked over. We sat on a bench, facing the duck pond. You look like him, she said. Not unkindly. Just fact.
Yeah.
I've heard. She pulled out her own envelope. Thicker than mine had been. Your father didn't just have an affair with me. He married me. The world stopped.
What?
We got married. Vegas. 26 years ago. Before he married your mother. We were young. Stupid. It fell apart after 6 months. We filed for divorce, but... She paused. Looked at me. The papers never went through. Administrative error. We didn't know for years. By the time we found out, he was already married to your mother. Had been for 3 years. My mouth went dry. That means... Your parents' marriage isn't legal. Never was. I'm still legally his wife. Which means everything they built together, everything they own, technically belongs to our marital estate. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Why are you telling me this? Trinity's eyes were sad.
Soft.
Because your father called me last night. Begged me to sign papers. Retroactive divorce. Dated back 25 years. Make it like the marriage never existed. He offered me money. A lot of money. Enough to disappear and never cause problems. Are you going to take it? She looked at the ducks. At the water. At anything but me. My kids are older now. Quinn's in college. Sienna's 17. They don't need him anymore. Don't need his guilt money. And honestly, I'm tired. Tired of being a secret. Tired of pretending.
But then I thought about you.
About what he did to you. And I realized something. What? You have more power than you know. If I don't sign those papers, if I stay legally married to him, every asset he has is vulnerable. Your mother has no legal claim to anything. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. All of it could be contested. All of it could come to you, his actual legitimate child. My head was spinning. Why would you help me? Because he's a coward. And cowards need to face consequences. She handed me the envelope. These are copies of our marriage certificate. The divorce filing that was never completed. Documentation of everything. My lawyer says you could use this. Win everything. I took the envelope. Felt its weight. There's one condition, Trinity said. Of course there was. Quinn and Sienna. They don't know about you. Don't know their father had another family. I need you to promise me you won't contact them. Won't blow up their lives the way yours was blown up. They're innocent in this. I thought about it. About how much I'd wanted to protect Rochelle before I knew the truth. How I'd wanted to spare her, even though she'd been cruel. I promise, I said. Trinity stood. Good luck, Vanessa. Make him pay for what he did to both of us. She walked away. Left me sitting there with proof that could destroy everything my parents had built. Not just wound it. Destroy it completely. I called Ingrid from the parking lot. You're not going to believe what I just learned, I said. 2 days later, I sat in Ingrid's office. My parents sat across from us. Their lawyer, some silver-haired guy named Preston, looked uncomfortable. This is extortion, Preston said. No, Ingrid replied calmly. This is legal reality. Your client committed bigamy. His marriage to Mrs. Hayes is invalid, which means all marital assets are subject to claim by his legal wife. And since Vanessa is his only legitimate child from his legal marriage, she is standing to claim inheritance rights. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. This is insane. This is the law, Ingrid said. My father hadn't said a word, just sat there, hands folded, staring at the table. We're offering a settlement, Ingrid continued. Full restitution of all funds illegally transferred. That's approximately $600,000. Plus the house in Riverside. Plus a formal acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Plus legal fees. That's everything we have, Mom whispered. Not quite, Ingrid said. You'd still have your primary residence, your cars, your retirement accounts.
But yes.
It would be most of your liquid assets. Preston leaned over. Whispered to my parents. They whispered back. Harsh. Angry. Finally, my father spoke. If we agree to this, you stay silent about Trinity? About the bigamy? Yes, I said. My first words since entering the room. No one needs to know. I'm not trying to humiliate you. I'm trying to get what's mine. My mother's laugh was bitter. Broken. What's yours? You've already taken everything. No, I said quietly. You took everything from me. I'm just taking it back. Silence filled the room like smoke. We need time to think, Preston said. You have 24 hours, Ingrid replied. After that, we file motion with the bigamy evidence. And it becomes public record. Your choice. We left. My parents stayed behind with their lawyer. I could feel their eyes on my back. Could feel their hatred. Their shock. Their complete and total defeat. And I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt free. They signed the papers the next morning. No drama. No fight. Just signatures and silence. The money hit my account 3 days later. $647,000. More money than I'd ever seen. More than I'd ever imagined having. The house in Riverside got transferred to my name. I didn't want it. Didn't want anything that had been hers. Trinity's. But Ingrid said I could sell it. Use the money for whatever I wanted. I sold it within a month. Got $400,000. Added to the settlement money, I had over $1 million. At 23 years old. Because my father couldn't keep his life straight. Because my mother couldn't face the truth. Rochelle called me once during all this. Did you know? About Trinity being his legal wife. Not until she told me. Jesus. A long pause. What are they going to do now? I don't know. Don't care. They sold my car. The BMW. Said they needed to liquidate assets. Dad's talking about selling the house. Moving somewhere smaller. Part of me felt guilty. Small part. But then I remembered 23 years of being invisible. Of being less than. Of being nothing. The guilt faded. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle, I said. And I meant it. I'm not, Rochelle said. I'm caught in the truth. There's a difference. We hung up. Didn't talk again for weeks. I quit the coffee shop. Enrolled in graduate school. Business administration. Started building something real. Something mine. Got my own apartment. Nice one. 2 bedrooms. Big windows. Plants on the balcony. Furniture that wasn't secondhand. For the first time in my life, I had space. Had peace. Had possibility. But the anger didn't leave. It lived in my chest like a coal that wouldn't stop burning. 3 months after the settlement, my father showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't let him in. But curiosity won. He looked older. Grayer. Smaller somehow. Like he'd shrunk. I'm not here to ask for money back, he said. Standing in my living room. Looking around at what his lies had bought me. Good. Because you're not getting it. I'm here to tell you the truth. The whole truth. Because you deserve that much. I crossed my arms. Waited. I was 22 when I married Trinity. We were kids. Thought we were in love. It crashed and burned in 6 months. I left. Started over. Met your mother. Fell in love for real. We got married. Had you? I thought I'd put Trinity behind me. But you hadn't. No. She showed up when you were 9. Told me about Quinn and Sienna. Told me the divorce had never been finalized. Said if I didn't help her, she'd expose everything. Destroy my marriage. Ruin my life. So you paid her off. Yes. Every month. For 14 years. Your mother found out after the first year. She was devastated. Wanted to leave. But I begged her to stay. Promised it would just be money. Nothing else. That I'd never see Trinity again. And Rochelle. His face twisted. Your mother couldn't look at you anymore. Said you looked too much like me. That every time she saw you, she remembered that I'd lied to her. That I'd brought this mess into our lives. She wanted a child that was ours. Not mine. Not carrying my betrayal. So we adopted Rochelle. The words hit like bullets. Each one finding a mark. You blamed me, I said slowly. For your mistakes. You made me pay for your lies. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Vanessa. Sorry doesn't fix 23 years. I know that too. He moved toward the door. Stopped. I just wanted you to know it was never about you. Never because you weren't good enough. It was because I wasn't. And I couldn't face that. So I made you suffer instead. He left. And I stood in my beautiful apartment with my $1 million and my new life. And I cried. For the first time since this all started. Really cried. Because knowing the truth didn't make it hurt less. It just made it make sense. And sometimes that's worse. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop a like if this story has you hooked, and let me know in the comments what you would have done in my situation. 6 months passed. I graduated with my MBA. Top of my class. No one from my family came to the ceremony. I didn't invite them. Didn't want them there. My friend Felix came. Brought flowers. Took photos. Told me he was proud. It was enough. Rochelle reached out again. Said she'd found her birth mother. A woman named Patrice who'd given her up because she was 17 and scared. They'd met twice. Were taking it slow. Rochelle said it was weird but good. Said she finally felt like she was building something real. I was happy for her. Surprised by that. But happy. My mother never called. Never texted. I heard through Rochelle that she and Dad were in therapy. Trying to salvage what was left of their marriage. That they'd downsized. Moved to a smaller house across town. That dad had taken early retirement. I didn't care. Told myself I didn't. Mostly believed it. Then one Tuesday, I got a letter. Handwritten. My mother's perfect cursive. I almost threw it away. But something made me open it. Vanessa, it read. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that I see now what I did. I see how I blamed you for his mistakes. How I punished you for my own pain. How I took an innocent child and made her feel worthless because I couldn't face my own failures. You deserved better. You deserved love. And I gave you cruelty instead. I'm sorry. I will spend the rest of my life being sorry. But more than that, I will spend it trying to be better. To do better. Even if you never speak to me again. Even if you never forgive me. I will be better. Because you deserved a better mother. And I failed you. I'm sorry. Mom. I read it 3 times. Then put it in a drawer. Didn't respond. Wasn't ready to. Maybe one day I would be. Maybe not. A year after everything exploded, I started my own business. Consulting firm. Helping small businesses grow. I was good at it. Really good. The money from the settlement let me take risks. Build something from nothing. One of my first clients was a woman who reminded me of Trinity. Single mom. 2 kids. Struggling but fighting. I gave her a discount. Helped her turn her failing bakery into something profitable. She cried when she thanked me. Said I'd saved her life. I told her she'd saved her own life. I just helped her see the path. Rochelle called on my 25th birthday. Want to get coffee? We met at a place downtown. Sat outside. Watched people pass. I'm moving to Portland, she said. Fresh start. Patrice lives there. We're going to try being family for real. That's good. I wanted to say goodbye. And thank you. For what? For blowing everything up. I know that sounds crazy. But if you hadn't, I'd still be living a lie. Still be their perfect puppet. Still be someone I'm not. You freed me. Even though it hurt. Even though it was brutal. You freed me. I didn't know what to say to that. I hope you find peace, Rochelle said. Real peace. Not just money or success. But actual peace. You too. She left for Portland the next week. We texted sometimes. Not often. But enough. Building something new. Something that wasn't built on lies. 2 years after the birthday that changed everything, I was sitting in my office when my assistant buzzed. Someone here to see you. Says it's personal. I looked up. Saw my father standing in the doorway. 5 minutes, I said. He sat down. Looked around at my success. My awards on the wall. My degrees framed and hung with pride. I'm dying, he said. The words hung in the air. Cancer. Stage 4. 6 months. Maybe less. I should have felt something. Sadness. Anger. Something. But I just felt empty. I'm not telling you for pity, he continued. I'm telling you because I want you to know that I'm proud of you. Proud of what you built. Proud of who you became. Despite me. Despite everything. Okay. And I want you to know that you were right. About all of it. I was a coward. I destroyed you to protect myself. And I'll die knowing that. Carrying that. But I'll also die knowing that you survived. That you thrived. That you won. This wasn't about winning, I said quietly. I know. But you did anyway. He stood. Walked to the door. Turned back. I love you, Vanessa. I always did. I just loved myself more. And I'm sorry for that. Sorrier than you'll ever know. He left. I sat in my office for an hour. Didn't move. Didn't cry. Just sat. When I finally stood up, I felt different. Lighter. Like something I'd been carrying had finally been set down. I didn't forgive him. But I let him go. And that was enough. My father died 4 months later. Quietly. In hospice. Rochelle called to tell me. Said Mom was a mess. That the funeral would be small. Are you coming? She asked. No. I understand. But 2 days before the funeral, I changed my mind. Not for him. Not even for Mom. But for myself. For closure. I sat in the back. Wore black. Didn't speak to anyone. Watched my mother cry. Watched distant relatives I'd never met pretend to care. Watched them bury a man who'd destroyed 2 families because he was too weak to face the truth. After, at the reception, my mother found me. Her eyes were red, swollen. She looked fragile, breakable. "Thank you for coming," she said. I almost didn't. "I know." She twisted her hands. "Can we talk? Privately?" We went outside. Stood under a tree in the cemetery parking lot. "I've been in therapy," she said. "For 2 years. Dealing with everything. Learning why I did what I did. And I've realized something. I was so focused on punishing your father through you that I never saw you. The real you. The brilliant, strong, incredible person you are. I missed your entire childhood. Your entire life. Because I was drowning in my own pain. And that's my fault. Not his. Mine." I said nothing. Let her talk. "I don't expect forgiveness. Don't expect a relationship. But I wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what I missed. What I destroyed. And I'm proud of you. So proud. And I'm sorry. For everything." She walked away before I could respond. I stood there for a long time, watching the sunset, thinking about forgiveness, about healing, about whether some wounds ever really close. I didn't have answers, but I had something else. I had peace. The kind Rochelle had talked about. Real peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of acceptance. 3 weeks after the funeral, I got a package. From my mother. Inside was the scrapbook I'd made her when I was 12. The one she'd set aside. The one I'd thought she'd thrown away. With it was a note. "I kept this. I've looked at it every day for the past 2 years. Remembered the girl who made it. The girl who loved me even when I didn't deserve it. I'm sorry I couldn't see her then. I see her now. And she's beautiful." I cried. First time in months. Not sad tears. Not happy tears. Just tears. Release. I called her the next day. We talked for 10 minutes. Awkward. Careful. But real. "Can we try?" she asked. "Start over. Build something new. Not parent and child. Just 2 people who hurt each other and want to do better." "Maybe," I said. Slowly. Slowly is good. We hung up. And I realized something. Forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about refusing to let the past erase your future. I wasn't there yet. Might never be. But I was open to the possibility. And that was more than I'd had before. 5 years after the birthday that shattered everything, I stood in my new house. Not an apartment. A house. 3 bedrooms. A yard. A garden where I grew tomatoes and herbs. A home. Rochelle visited from Portland. Brought her girlfriend. They were happy. Glowing. Planning a wedding. "You'll come, right?" Rochelle asked. Of course. My mother came for dinner sometimes. Once a month. We talked about small things. Safe things. Work. Weather. The garden. Slowly, carefully, building something that might one day look like a relationship. I never forgot what she did. Never pretended it didn't happen. But I stopped letting it define me. That was the real victory. Not the money. Not the house. Not even the justice. But the refusal to stay broken. I started a foundation. For kids in foster care. For adopted children struggling with identity. For anyone who'd been made to feel like they didn't belong. I called it Second Chances. Because everyone deserves one. Even if they have to give it to themselves. One Saturday morning, I was working in my garden when someone knocked on my gate. I looked up. Saw a young woman. Maybe 19. Nervous. "Are you Vanessa Hayes?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Sienna." "You're, I guess your half-sister." Quinn's sister. Trinity's daughter. My breath caught. Trinity told us. Before she died last year. Told us everything. About Dad. About you. About all of it. She shifted her weight. "I know you promised not to contact us. And you kept that promise. But I had to meet you. Had to see the sister I never knew I had." I stood. Brushed dirt off my hands. Studied her face. Saw my father's eyes. Saw my own nose. Saw family. "Want some coffee?" I asked. She smiled. "I'd like that." We sat on my porch. Talked for 3 hours. About Trinity. About our father. About growing up in different worlds created by the same man's lies. About pain and healing and the weird ways families come together. When she left, she hugged me. Quinn wants to meet you too. If that's okay. It's okay. After she left, I sat on my porch as the sun set. Thought about the birthday 5 years ago. The envelope. The explosion. The destruction. And I realized something. That birthday hadn't ruined my life. It had saved it. Because sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something real. Sometimes destruction is the only path to truth. And sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the first day of your real life. I'd lost a family that never really loved me. But I'd found myself. Found my strength. Found my worth. And slowly, carefully, I was building a family of people who chose me. And who I chose back. That's what family should be. Not blood. Not obligation. Not lies held together by fear and guilt. But choice. Respect. Truth. Love. I pulled out my phone. Texted Rochelle. Thank you. For what? She replied. For growing. For trying. For being real. Back at you, sis. I smiled. Put my phone down. Watched the stars come out. My name is Vanessa Hayes. I'm 28 years old. I'm a business owner, a sister, a daughter in progress, and a survivor. My parents told me I was adopted and kicked me out on my birthday. I destroyed their lives in return. And somehow, in the wreckage, I found my own. That's my story. And I'm still writing it. One choice at a time. One truth at a time. One day at a time. And for the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving. I'm living. Really living. If this story touched you, moved you, or made you think, please share it. Leave a comment telling me what you would have done. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Turn on notifications because trust me, you'll want to hear what comes next. And remember, your value isn't determined by the people who fail to see it. You are enough. You always were. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being part of this family. I'll see you in the next one.